Hello everyone, welcome back to another tutorial. Today we are going to see how we can create this simple model using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So we create a folder called HTML, CSS, and JavaScript model. And inside this folder we are going to have three files. The first file is index.html, and the second file is going to be style.css, and our last file is going to be scripts.js. So now, in our index.html, we are going to create HTML structure by pressing Shift and exclamation mark and press Enter. So here we just put the title, HTML and JS model. So below the title, we are going to link our CSS, which is basically style.css. And then just before, we're gonna link our script, which is script.js, which is right here. So let me open this in browser. So you can see alongside here, we now have an empty file. So what we are going to do is, we're going to create an H2 and the title is going to be model. And below the model, we're going to create a button, and this button shall have open model. So you can see our button is there. So we are going to add a JavaScript function on the model and call it onClick open model function. Now this is all for the model, and then we are going to create now the model itself just below the button. So we are going to give a div, and this div we are going to give it an ID, and let's call this ID my model, and we shall give it a class called model. So within this div we are going to create the model content, and inside the model content we create a span tag with a class called close, and we give it a function on click, we close the model. It's a function put and times. So we shall just create a simple paragraph and call it this is a simple model, and then we put another paragraph and just put the model content. Let's just put lorem. So you can see this is the model content. Now the next thing is, let's write some styles for it. So I'll go to style.css and I'm going to style the model container. Remember that class we created called model. So we're going to give it display of none, so that by default this model does not show. As you can see, it has disappeared. So we shall position the model fixed, and then we need to make sure that the model appears on top of other elements. So we are going to give it z index of 1, we give it left 0, right also 0. So we are going to give it a full width. So let's just do width 100% and give it a height of also 100%. So we can also enable scrolling if needed. So we are going to give it overflow and just give it auto, and then background color RGBA. So this background color comes with some opacity, so we're gonna give it 0, 0, and 0.8. So that is all for the model. So let's style the button. So the button is just a tag, so we're gonna give it a color of white, which is F, and we're gonna give it a background color 093273. We're gonna give it a border of none. We're gonna give it border radius of 5 pixels. And lastly, we are gonna give it a padding 10 pixels, 20 pixels. So that's what we have for the model. Now we need to make sure that this model works. So before we style the model content itself, let us make sure that this model works. So let's pause our CSS a bit here and then go to the scripts. So the first thing is, we are going to create a variable to get the model element. So we shall do that by saying var model is equal to document. So we are going to get element by ID, and our ID was called my model. Make sure that you check the spelling. So after creating that model, we are going to create a function to open the model. So you remember we already have a function here called open model function. So we are going to create this function. So we shall just say function open model, and we get the property to display block. So when I click on this, you can see it is displaying. When I click on this, it is displaying. So now let's create a function to close the model. So we are pretty much gonna do the same thing. Close model, and we shall just say model.style.display we just give it none. So let that, then close. You see that? So when I open and close, open and close. So our model is literally working. So the last part is, let's just try to close the model. Even when someone clicks outside, let the model close. So for now, you can see nothing is happening. So let's create our last close model when user clicks anywhere outside. So we shall just say window dot on click, give it the function event, and if the event target is the model, we shall display none. So we just say model dot style display none, and then close our function. And that is all. So let me add this. So if I click out, our model should close. So I'm going to take you back to the CSS and let's add some styles, because when you look at this, it's so disorganized. So let's try to now style the model item. Now we go back to our style.css. Now here we are going to style the model content. Let's start with the class model content. Let's give it a background color and let's give it a margin of 10%, 15% auto. Let's give it a padding of 20 pixels. Let's give it a border radius of 8 pixels. And let's give it a width of 80%. And let's give it a box shadow of 0, 2 pixels, 8 pixels, RGBA 0, 0, 0, and 0.3. So you can see this is what we have now. When I open the model, this is what happens. So let's go back to style the close. So we get that class, the pseudo class hover, and also give it the same style as close with a pseudo class of focus. So let's give it a color of red. Red is FF0000. Let's give it a text decoration of none, cursor pointer. Let's reduce the width to 50 and the margin to 10. So you can see we have this way. So we need to make sure that it covers the entire page. So what we are going to do is we are going to change this. Instead of right, we are going to put top and just give it 0. So let's see if it changes. Oh yeah. So on a full screen, you can see now that is our model. So basically, this is how you can create a simple pop-up model. If you're a beginner and you're just learning how to play around with HTML and CSS, you basically just create a simple HTML file with a model item and then just give the styles the way that you want, and then write a simple JavaScript to trigger the model and your ID. So thank you so much for watching. If you need the source code, find it on the GitHub repository, the code chip. And also be sure to subscribe for more of this kind of tutorials. See you in the next video.